Hey there and welcome. We're about to build up your vocabulary toolkit with 20 words that are, well, absolutely essential. Using them is going to make your English communication so much clearer and more powerful, whether you're in a big meeting or just catching up with friends. All right, let's dive right in. So let me ask you this. What are the real building blocks of powerful communication? It's not just about memorizing a ton of words. It's really about knowing the right words and knowing exactly how to use them to get your point across. Understanding those tiny differences that can change your whole message. So instead of just throwing a long random list at you, we're going to tackle these words in a few logical groups. Trust me, this approach will make them so much easier to understand, to remember, and most importantly, to start using in your own conversations, like today. All right, our first group is all about action. These are dynamic, energetic words we use all the time to talk about doing things, moving things, and making things happen. First up, we've got lift versus raise. Now, they both mean moving something up, right? But the key difference here is effort. Lift implies you're really using some muscle, like when you lift a heavy box. Raise is a bit more general. You raise your hand to ask a question. A company might raise its prices. There's less physical strain involved. Next up is a fantastic word, pivot. And this isn't just about turning your body. In business or even in life, to pivot means you're making a major change in your strategy, but without starting completely from scratch. Think of a company that used to sell products in stores and then pivots to selling only online. It's a strategic shift, not a total do-over. Okay, let's talk about moving fast. Hustle, hurry, and rush all mean to move quickly. But wow, they feel really different. To hustle has a positive vibe. It's all about energy and purpose. To hurry is usually because you're running out of time, you're late. And to rush, well, that's often negative. It suggests you're being careless, maybe rushing through your work and making mistakes. So here we have a whole word family. We start with the verb catch and its past tense, caught. Simple enough. But the really common one you'll hear is the phrasal verb to catch up. This can be literal, like you're trying to catch up to a friend who's walking ahead of you. But we often use it figuratively, like when you get back from vacation and you have to catch up on a week's worth of emails. This is a perfect example of the link between a verb and a noun. Divide is the action you take to separate something. Division is the result of that action, or the concept itself. So you perform the action to divide the pizza, and what you end up with is the division of the pizza into slices. Same goes for dividing up tasks at work. Now, let's look at ease and relieve. They're super similar, and they're both about making a tough situation a little better. To ease something, like pain, is to make it less intense. But to relieve it often implies you're removing that pain or at least reducing it in a big way. You'll often hear people talk about relieving anxiety or relieving stress. It's really connected to those negative feelings. Okay, so we've covered actions. Now let's switch gears and move on to some more abstract ideas. These are the words that really help us frame situations, talk about problems, and understand time. A dilemma isn't just any old problem. It's a very specific kind of problem where you have to choose between two options, and honestly, neither of them is great. It's that classic stuck between a rock and a hard place feeling. That's a true dilemma. An era is a big deal. We're talking about a huge chunk of time, not just a few years. It's a long period that's defined by something really special or unique. So we talk about the Victorian era or the digital era we're in now. It gives this grand sense of history and context. Here's another one of those key noun and verb pairs. A threat is the potential danger itself. It's a thing, a noun. You could also say it's a hazard. The verb, to threaten, is the action of being a danger. So the storm is a threat, and it threatens the city. See the difference? Okay, let's get these two straight, because they can be a bit tricky. Pre-existing means something was already there before the current situation. You hear this a lot with pre-existing medical conditions. Initial, on the other hand, means something that exists at the very, very beginning. Like your initial thought about a new movie is your very first impression. All right, for our final section, we're going to look at words that add color, scale, and feeling to your language. These are the words that make your communication really vivid and precise. So let's talk about scale. You've got minor and major. Minor means something is small, not very important, like a minor delay that won't mess up your whole day. But major means it's big, it's really important, like a major life decision. They're total opposites. And building right on that idea, we have minority and majority. The minority is the smaller part of any group, while the majority is the larger part, always more than half. And you can see the connection, right? Minor leads to minority, and major leads to majority.
Now let's break down the different levels of funny. Something can be funny and it makes you smile, maybe laugh a little. But if something is hilarious, it's extremely funny. We're talking deep, loud, can't breathe kind of laughter. And then there's ridiculous, which is when something is so absurd and silly that it loops all the way back around to being funny.
And here we go again. The difference is all about scale. A flood is a massive, large-scale event. It's when a river or the ocean covers land that's usually dry. Overflow is on a much smaller scale. It's what happens when you pour too much coffee in your cup and it spills over the side. One is huge, one is small.
Illuminate is just a beautiful word. It has two really cool meanings. It can literally mean to light something up, to make it brighter, but it also has this fantastic metaphorical meaning, to make a difficult topic clear and easy to understand. A great teacher can illuminate a complex subject for their students.
So, there you have it. You've just added some seriously powerful new words to your communication toolkit. Let's just do a super quick review of the groups we covered. We looked at words for action and change, like knowing the difference between lift and raise and when you need to pivot. We covered concepts, like being stuck in a dilemma or talking about a whole historical era. And finally, we added those great descriptive words like minor versus major, or something being funny versus absolutely hilarious. Seeing them all grouped like this really helps it all sink in. And that brings us to the end. But listen, knowing these words is one thing. Using them is everything. So here's my question for you. Which one of these new words are you going to make a point to use in a sentence today? Go out there and give it a try. Thanks for tuning in.